This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Okay, before we get into Star Wars and like Andor and all that, I just wanted to like mention Babylon because I saw it yesterday, and we were kind of like on the fence on if it would be good, and we're like, oh, it's just going to be like every other like Crash, you know what I'm saying? Or you know those kinds of movies like where it's like intersecting stories and you're kind of like what's going to happen. But I highly recommend checking it out. Like I would watch it again. Like when I said in the chat and then he's like, oh, I'd watch that. I'm like, I would totally watch it again. It's like 3 hours, but you don't feel the 3 hours. It's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street. But the cool part about it, I'm trying to pitch it to you because it's so good, is basically it's the transition between silent movies to talkies. And you told me about this. Remember you were like, oh, when you went from silent pictures to talkies, all these people, when they heard their voices, they were like, oh, they're not good as like an audio actor. And they showed that. And I was like, oh, this is what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because like Brad Pitt was a silent movie actor. Like these people in the beginning were like silent movie actors, and then they invented like talkies, like audio.
Yeah.
And then they showed how hard it was in the beginning to capture the audio. Like it sounds boring, but the way they executed it, it was almost like Quentin Tarantino meets Wolf of Wall Street. It was so good. And the thing that I thought was most fascinating was how people get into the industry. Because, you know, they say like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So it's really all about networking. So the movie begins with a giant party. Right. And there's like two unknown actors or like unknown people in the industry. And they're trying to break into the industry. And it shows like their journey of how they finally became famous.
Right.
And like upper level people simultaneously while like talkies are taking over. And it's just, it really depends on getting invited to these parties and making a good impression with people there because they'll want to work with you.
Yeah.
So it's like, right? Isn't it fascinating? So, but I was surprised you put that on screen. You know, you really like outed the process. So like a musician was playing the party, and then one guy was like, "Oh, I really like you. You should come, like, message me sometime." And then he put him in films, and it was like, "Oh, okay, like that's how it works. You just got to be around these people." And then it showed Margot Robbie's character was trying to transition, like change her her persona as an actress. And in doing that, she had to go to these parties and convince other people that she had become sophisticated. So it shows that part where it's like she's practicing like, okay, don't say ain't, say are not. And like, you know what I mean? And like, because she has to put on the correct impressions that they will hire her for other movies. It's just fascinating that, yeah, it's totally how it will work. And Margot Robbie, I was watching her interviews before because she made it really big with Wolf of Wall Street, right, with Leo DiCaprio. And she was saying that, I think it was Vanity Fair or something. She was talking about her office redesign and how in the beginning it was all about sex appeal, but she wants to transition away from that and towards like more serious acting. And you see it. She has like 3 really long like Leo type scenes where it's just a monologue of silence and she's just outbursting and it's one take and you're like, wow, I can't believe you just like filmed that whole thing. You know, like I'm excited to see where her career goes. This is a really good movie. So I think we should watch it, is what I'm saying, collectively.
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, but I thought it was funny that you did bring up before, because you never think about it. It's like, yeah, with the introduction of sound, these people, like their voices aren't good. Like
Yeah,
Brad
yeah,
Pitt's
yeah,
voice,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you saw the commercial, right? It sounds like
Yeah.
too rough.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then when
yeah.
they heard him on the screen, they were laughing in the theater.
Hmm.
But this was the most fascinating part. The reason why it was a movie lovers movie is because they basically explain why movies are amazing. Because you know how we're like, oh, you know, you get to go into this theater and then you escape your life for a little bit
Yeah.
and like you become these characters.
Hmm.
Like they were saying, like that's why movie making will forever be an important process for people because
Hmm.
it's an escape,
Yeah.
you know. And that's what Brad Pitt's character like loved about the movie industry, and like that's what they all loved.
Hmm.
But then it also showed, the darker side of it. But my question coming out of this is, do you actually think movie theaters will stay?
We'll
Or do you think
we'll
it's
stay.
stay, yeah. Or do you think it's like the talkies thing where we're doing streaming now, so there won't be any more of this like movie theater thing and it's everyone's just dreaming?
Mm, that depends on the directors. I feel like if or not just the directors, it's more like the industry itself, right? It's all about where they see the money,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
right? Like a lot of things, like we're talking about, like the Star Wars things, are streaming. They're not even in.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and not even theaters, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But they're still phenomenal.
exactly. Yeah,
So
it's
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 like,
it's also like about. I think it's also like cost budgeting too, right? It's like the shows are very cheaper to make now than they were before because
true.
you don't have to be on actual sets.
True. And you don't have to do those press tours and like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe it'll be like the theater, like the like
I'm not.
actual
It
physical
won't
place,
ever go.
Broadway.
I don't think it'll go away. Like movie theaters won't go away. Like theaters are still here, right?
That's what I mean. So it'll
Yeah,
be like Broadway. It'll be like it's like for a select few who still enjoy that
yeah,
experience,
yeah, yeah.
because it will eventually come to streaming. Like the menu, right?
It's
It's
already
on.
on streaming. I watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh, what'd you think?
was really good.
Oh, maybe we could talk about it now because we didn't talk about it before. Okay, we'll add this. This is just gonna be a movie podcast. All right, cool. So yeah, what'd you think of the menu?
It was really good. Like seeing the different what do you call it? Like that different acts or different courses, but in done in a very interesting way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how that they highlighted foodie culture because that guy, remember the main character, he just wanted to eat at the restaurant, and then they were
Hmm.
saying like you ruined our industry because now it's like you can just like post about your review, but before it was more like nuanced than that. Now it's like anybody's a food critic and like anybody can get into this field. So remember when he made him, he's like, cook me a meal
Hmm.
and he couldn't do it and he like hung himself. It's like, it was almost like saying, we're, we're superficially in this thing that we know nothing about. You know what I mean? Like to them, it's a whole art form, but to us, it's like entertain me monkey, you know?
Mm,
Or do you not get that from that guy?
I didn't get that from him because he. I think he was more. He was wanting to be in the culture, but he's not a cook. Like he doesn't
But
understand the
that's what I mean. So
actual
it's right.
the foundations of it.
Yeah, and
He's
the
got the
process of what
surface level. Yeah.
that's what I mean. So like remember he was like, "Oh, did you use this in it? Did you use that in it?" And it's like you're speaking as if you know,
Hmm.
but you don't really know what this is about,
Yeah.
you know? And I feel like that's what like foodie culture has become where you like take the picture
Yeah,
of the
and
food like
that
might you will die fun, you know?
and that's all he was obsessed with, right? Like he didn't
Yeah.
care about running like when they're the male, what was it called? Like whatever it was, the men menu thing, right? When they told him to run
Yeah.
away, he didn't run away. He wanted to go back for the
Oh yeah,
food.
yeah. Yeah, because it's like the clout chase at that point.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
just like, "Oh, this is exclusive. I want to be a part of it."
Hmm.
But it's weird that he knew the whole time that he
Yeah,
would
that's the
die.
thing. Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
still took.
yeah.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, that was a great movie. I thought it had so many levels of like why food is important too. You know what? Babylon is on the same level as the menu. Like
Hmm.
how they were explaining why food is so important. Remember how the whole time he talked about like we take our sustenance from the food, and like it's surrounded by death, and it's like, yeah, this
There's
is
a lot
very
of
true.
things to it. There was a lot of things to it. Like I liked it when he first said like the only thing I ask for you to is not eat, but taste or like
Yeah,
savor.
that's cool.
That was a
Yeah,
cool scene. And then
yeah,
like
that's cool.
and then I forgot the girl's name, but she didn't eat any of the food, or
Mm.
and then like make a cheeseburger, something that
She liked the basicness of
yeah,
like, yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah. Even but it went back to his roots,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's the other thing too. Okay, so because of my like that Instagram Eat Well Die Fun, like me and Sunshine have been going out to restaurants and stuff. That's what hit home for this movie for me. It was
mm-hmm.
like I feel like the girl because yeah, it's this extravagant place and like you're eating these weird foods, but I wouldn't want that on the regular.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know, say like her, she wanted the burger, and it's like, yeah, because this food is weird.
yeah.
You know,
They
it's
don't
not
look.
really food.
Yeah, it's not really food. Yeah, it doesn't look like
Yeah,
food.
that's why it's like don't eat, taste, and it's
Yeah,
like yeah, it's like it is an experience. You're not going to like a 5-star restaurant to get full. You're going to like be like, what weird
yeah.
combination is this?
I think
Why'd you put this
that's
here?
yeah. I think that's another thing that people think about like 5 star. They think
Mm,
of taste, or they just think of like
food,
food, right?
eating, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but it's more about the palate, like what you're
yeah, totally.
experiencing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I think it might have been with your brother or something. I was having this conversation about like eating at these places, these like fancy places, and I'm like, but yeah, it's not for everyone. It's like an art. Oh, I was talking about fashion as well with your brother because we were at the mall and we were at Alexander McQueen's store, and I was explaining why these things cost so much money. You know, because like if you go to, you buy your clothes from like Old Navy or something, right? That's meant to turn over really quickly, right? It won't last. That's why it's so cheap. But if you go to Alexander McQueen, it's like over $1,000, over $2,000, only because it's supposed to last forever. You know,
Hmm.
you could pass that down to another generation, and then there's like different types of stitching, different types of like fabrics, but it's like it's an art form, just like the food. It's an art form. It's not like if you just want food, just go to like McDonald's. You know, you don't need to do this thing. But if you want to appreciate like the art form of it, that's why these things exist.
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe that's how people will look at us in the future for going to the theater. You know what I mean? They're like, I like the audio of it, and I like the escape, and I like the closed lights of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's why I don't like the streaming. It's like an experience. If you just want to consume the show, just wait for it to come out streaming.
Right.
But if you really want the true art, you have to go to the theater.
Hmm.
Actually, that makes sense.
I think it
Yeah,
makes
I really,
sense.
yeah.
I think it'll make sense for movies that were meant for that. Like a lot of these,
You're right.
I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
say
Like,
depending on the directors, right? So a lot of them they design it specifically for a theater experience.
yeah, 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 yeah. What was it? Avatar 1, but like Maverick we were talking about, you
Hmm.
have to hear the audio
Yeah.
in the theater. Um,
Like
like
a lot of Christopher
Christopher
Nolan
Nolan.
movies.
Yeah, Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really get away with it. You can watch it at home, but the you won't experience it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But the difference will be this. So like somebody will watch it at home and be like, yeah, it's the same sound. But they won't see the levels, right? Like how we were in Alexander McQueen and I was explaining different textures, right? Like different weight materials that you use,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, yeah, but it looks the same. But it's like it looks the same, but there's like subtle differences.
Yeah.
You know, just like, oh yeah, I could listen to it on my home speaker, but you don't get the boom of the jet for Maverick
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
unless you go to the theater.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or even the 3D experience for Avatar. Like I was trying to watch Avatar. I did watch it, but without the 3D. I was like, yeah, it's just a movie.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was in the theater, I was like, whoa, it's a world
Hmm.
because it was so big and like the depth of field. You
Yeah.
felt like you were in Pandora,
Yeah, exactly. But then
right?
then the gimmick happens too even in theaters, but that's for money, right? Which was like after the Avatar 1, then all these other movies are like just converting to 3D. But it's not real
Yeah.
3D. It's not really filmed in 3D. But that's just for the
Yeah, yeah, for
money.
sure, for sure.
Yeah. Which
But I mean,
I think that aspect also, but that's what I'm saying. Like those are industry things to make more money. It ruins the art too, right?
100%. So to translate this into like a fashion term, I can show you this right now. So this is it's called a bottega.
Hmm.
See his pattern. Okay, so it's iconic for this pattern. Okay, but like you said, like when it becomes for the money, you see other lower tier brands copying that pattern now
Hmm.
to mimic it because we want like the highest level of it is this. But if you want just the pattern, you can go for the lower level, but it like diminishes the art form,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fascinating. It's so funny, like these subtleties to hedonic things,
Hmm.
that like we think of like enjoyment as a trivial thing, but it's so necessary for not only our survival, but like survival in terms of mental health. Because imagine if there was no hedonic things, like no theater stuff, no fashion, like no art.
Hmm.
We'd live in a very like cold world, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, that world existed before, right?
Which one? The art world or
No,
the
no,
cold
the
world?
like saying like no. There's always some form of art, right? There were
That's what I
always
mean. Yeah.
yeah. There was always
Cave
some
art
form of art.
drawings.
Sorry, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like spiritual people,
yeah.
like prayers. There's always something that we wanted more of a subjectiveness to our reality
Hmm.
instead of being so cold.
Yeah, I think yeah, it goes into education too, though, right? Like if everyone only is doing engineering, then the world is going to be
Yeah.
boring.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
People
Totally.
have to
Exactly.
do arts like that exists in
Yeah.
society.
Oh, actually, all right. So this is a good question. Do you think that the AI creations will supersede human art? So, like, with the images, the photos,
Hmm.
and how they can create AI songs now. The
Hmm.
Amy Winehouse song was like really good. You're like, oh, I didn't know this was created with AI. So with those things, do you think that'll be better than a human making that? Like, do you think there's a human component to art that is necessary? Or do you think that can be like mimicked?
Mm. It depends on what level of AI you get to. If it's uncanny to human, then it's
True.
human.
Fair. Fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Be-
Yeah, fair.
right. It's just I think it's just the level. Whatever we'll eventually reach that level.
You know what it is? I think it's the imperfection is what creates the human element. So if AI made it and it was perfect, like think about brushstrokes,
Hmm.
right? Like for a painting, it's the errors that make that
Right.
painting
Right.
unique.
Hmm.
Whereas like if you just printed that out with the computer software, it'd be so perfect
Yeah.
lines,
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, it will
that
be
you
like
wouldn't
that. Yeah.
know
Exactly. It will be like that.
until
Like
they fake the errors.
until no, until it becomes artificial,
But
actual artificial intelligence. Right. So like
yeah, true.
at
But that's what I mean, like
at that
fake
point, it's
errors.
just yeah. At that point, it's just human.
Yeah,
Like
fair.
you know what I mean?
I wonder though. Yeah, I wonder if I wonder if there's a feeling associated with it as well, too. I don't know if that's real, but
I think of feeling it depends. I mean, art is very subjective, right? So it's the
like
individual's experience.
can you do you think there's an energy transferred into art? So like something that's handcrafted versus something that's made in a factory.
I think I think you would have to have knowledge of that, like knowing what to look for. If a person doesn't
True, true,
have
true,
that,
true.
then it doesn't matter.
True, I guess that would be the double blind placebo test where you're just like okay, one of these was made
By hand?
handcrafted.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
one is
yeah,
it? And you'd be like, I like this one. Oh, that was computer. And
yeah.
you're like, okay, I guess there's none. Yeah, true. Maybe it's just this. It goes back to the stories we tell ourselves. If you see something, you're like, well, this is handcrafted. Then
Exactly. Yeah.
you build this world around it.
But there's a lot of
That's
that
so
though. I see
weird,
that
though.
all the time if you go to like other countries and like, oh, it's handcrafted, this little thing or figurine or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
then it's like, but then everybody's saying it, then it just becomes like, okay, doesn't really
Are they
matter.
all really handcrafted? Like, come
Yeah,
on.
are they,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Now you're just saying it. So is it true or not true? I don't know.
You know, it was really fascinating when we went to like during that like world trip in 2016, going from market to market because like one of the biggest things, the biggest selling points in countries is like, oh, have you gone to the night market? Right. So we were checking out all these markets that every country was like known for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they were selling the same stuff. If you go in rapid succession, you're like, oh, they're literally all selling the same
Yeah.
items,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and but if you go to that one country, you think, oh, I can only buy it here. But it's like, who's the manufacturer making
Yeah, that's
the
what I
product
saw.
for
Like
everyone?
I went to when I went to like Mexico to see the Chichen Itza. Like there's like a
Yeah.
whole like a pathway, and there's like a bunch of like stalls on the side. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I saw like Buddha statues. I'm like, why is there Buddha statues here?
Yeah.
It's just
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. They're just selling. Okay. So I have these Tibetan flags on my new bookshelf. And like, you would think I could only get this in Tibet,
Mhm.
but you can also get this in Pickering, you know, but at one of those like spiritual stores, you can easily buy one of these. Yeah, you can find them like all over. And it's like, global commerce has taken everything to such a new level that like import exports, like nothing is nothing is super localized anymore unless you
Mhm.
go to like maybe a tribe, like a specific tribe that they only make that thing there or something, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but then I don't
it's
think
super
they're
rare, I
necessarily
guess.
making things to sell. That you're right. You know what I mean? Like those would
No,
be.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's not like mass production.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like they're trying to
yeah,
make money off this thing.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
maybe that's their only way of making money, I guess. Like if tourists come and they sell it to them, but yeah, they're not like
But then
mass
they would be
producing.
making mass. I think if there's a lot of tourism, then it's more like mass produced, right? Then instead of like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, right, for sure. That's why I'm saying like those famous markets in every country. If like everyone goes there
which is what
and
most people
they're all
go to.
mass,
Yeah.
right, right. But we went to in Thailand this like long neck tribe, and they would only sell stuff they handmade there. So it's
Hmm.
something like that. Like you have to kind of you can't really go to the famous markets because they're all selling the same thing. You have to kind of go
Yeah, you'd have
elsewhere.
to go. Yeah, right. Outside of the way, kind of thing to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
find those things.
Tourism's so funny, eh? Like a lot of countries just thrive off of tourism. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
one of the biggest money makers, I think, in Philippines. Well, aside from like labor, because they're moving call centers there, but like tourism is one of the biggest things. I
Hmm.
know Peru too. Tourism's big. So COVID like crushed their economies because
Yeah,
people
yeah.
couldn't
Even
travel.
Mexico, like where we're at, especially in the Cancun city,
Tourism.
like
Yeah.
their money is based on tourism, right? Like there's
Yeah.
so
Right.
many
Yeah.
resorts and stuff, right? So yeah, when
Yeah.
COVID happened, it really affected a lot of those people. Yeah.
Yeah. Reminds me of White Lotus. Have you seen that
I
yet?
haven't seen season 2.
Too. Oh, okay. Okay. All
Slowly.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I finished the other Star Wars, so I haven't got.
Yeah, okay, we're all right. So we'll transition to that now. Um, what did you think of Andor, the main topic of this thing, Andor?
I really like that one.
Yeah, man, me too. It was one of the best Star Wars I've ever seen. Okay, before we dissect Andor, let's first talk about what other ones we can compare this to. So you finally watched Kenobi, which for me, Kenobi was the the pinnacle of the Star Wars series I've seen. It was the best one I've seen. And then I saw this one.
Hmm.
But I love Jedi, so it's so hard for
That's
me
what
to be like, I
that's
like Andor better.
that's what I said. Like you, when I told you to watch it, and you're the first thing you said is a Jedi.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
It's
there's
like
no
no
Jedi. So you're like,
Jedi.
is it worth it? I don't know. But it's, would you say it's the best series you've seen of Star Wars so far?
Um, I think yes, it's a much more mature level. I
Yeah,
think that's why I liked it a lot more.
same.
And they're talking about like I don't know how they incorporate it into the story, but like the spy level stuff, like that's
Yeah.
and like people,
Okay, that's the dissection of it. Let's
yeah,
save that. So okay, I would agree with you in this. The Jedi aspect is really cool because of the philosophy, but the maturity level of this movie, this series,
like
is
Obi Wan was filled with the philosophy.
it was, yeah, that's why I liked it.
Yeah,
Because it was like, oh, this is why I love the
yeah,
Jedi, you know,
everything was the dark versus the light, right?
in Obi-Wan.
In Obi Wan, yeah, like Leia as the light,
Yeah.
And then what
It
happened
was
to?
so obvious,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
But I think it was
Yeah.
more like it was a very good closure for Obi-Wan as
Okay. Yeah.
between him and Anakin, as in Anakin's no more. Like at the end,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
he said
We're like, yeah.
Anakin's actually dead, right? It's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. Yeah.
still a little bit of hope because we know what happens in the later movies, right? So
Right. 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 Yeah. 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 But but there was still something whimsical about it. You know what I mean? Like there's still something like not kiddie, but hopeful about
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But this one there was like, okay, let's just start dissecting it then. This one was, it was like this is how it would play out in reality.
Hmm.
Just a lot of small strategic movements and a lot of spy level secrecy. You know,
Right.
like it reminded me of like North Korea or like Russia versus. Remember that movie, the Benedict Cumberbatch movie you sent me?
Hmm.
We watched together.
Yeah, yeah.
What was that one?
Oh, I forgot. Well, he got captured by the Russians. I don't remember the
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
but yeah,
And he was like, he's going like in and out, and like
yeah.
all he was doing was carrying information.
Right, right.
It was like that, you know. It's like wars are not won through big actions, but small ones like this. We
Hmm.
only see the big actions,
Right.
you know. Well,
And
what
like,
did you? Yeah.
like in the beginning, you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
why I liked it. Is like, I think in the third or fourth episode, that's when it changed. That's when it like switched to like, oh, well, this is a
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
different
yeah.
story than I thought it was.
I thought he was a part of the rebellion right away. Right? That's why
Hmm.
he went to the tavern, but he's just looking for his sister, right? And it
Right.
was an accidental incident,
Yeah.
like him
Yeah.
killing those guards that set everything in motion.
Hmm.
And then you're like, you start unraveling the whole rebellion through his one mistake. Well, not mistake, but like accident.
You're right.
He gets thrust in it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But like, and a lot of
Yeah.
the first the mission when they were stealing the money, like it's to instigate more. It's to start the. That's another thing, to start the rebel kind of mentality
Yeah, yeah.
or the resistance mentality. It's like because they got so powerful where they've just been blinded by power, right? So it's like very interesting
Yeah.
how it was done. But he was also like the guy who planned that out, kind of thing, was willing to lose people in the process
Yes.
of creating the
Yeah.
resistance.
Yeah, 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 for sure. But that is how it would go.
Yeah.
It's like you wanted to show us how life works, but you use the movie or the show as like a platform to do it.
Hmm.
Because you obviously can't. We can't create these. It would be too obvious. It would be too on the nose. You know,
Right.
you're
Right.
like. But if you use like an invisible world, like a not real world, then you can tell us the truth of what's going on. Sort of like Babylon,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
How I was saying, it's like it shows the underbelly of Hollywood.
Right.
These aren't true stories, but the depictions are true. Like these things do happen.
Hmm.
You know, this guy really will sacrifice anyone to
But
have the
yeah, what I
resistance.
liked about that character too, it's like a little bit later on where someone wanted to like
The leader,
the
right?
leader, yeah, the leader, like the shop owner slash leader.
Mm.
So like later on when someone inside of the empire wanted to like, I don't want to work with you anymore. Like I want to protect my family. Where he's
Yeah.
like you don't have anything. You're not risking anything. He's telling the leader, right? So it's like it's very interesting. Like I'm willing to risk my humanity to start this resistance. Like I'm willing
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
people will die and everything. I can accept all that for the future that
Yeah.
I will never have.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and that to me was like that moment was like you're both you're two sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
You know, like the rebellion versus the republic, you both will sacrifice anyone for this ideology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sure you want quote unquote freedom for your people, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like I'm sure the Republic thought the exact same thing. Like Darth Vader thought the exact same thing. He's like, we need to stomp out the Jedi because they're
in
making
his perspective, they were
right, just like the
yeah.
leader of the rebellion.
Hmm.
So one day, if we look back at this and they've taken over, it's like, oh, he sacrificed. Like they're the same tools,
Hmm.
you know. It's just who's using the tool, like secrecy and like deceit, killing
Right.
anyone. Like both sides use the same
Hmm.
techniques.
Yeah.
So who's the good? Like who's the good in this one? That's what it left me with. It was like, which side do I actually like? Do I actually like the rebellion, or like obviously the way they were portraying the stormtroopers and the totalitarian style government was bad, but also it's like, but there are people thriving in this world, like Coruscant people, like the you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the world that they've built, the Republic has built, has become so grand. It's sort of like our reality, like our cities,
Hmm.
but at the detriment of other people.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
like our last,
Which a
week's
lot of
podcast
people will
about
be,
Cobalt.
which a lot of people I feel like from Coruscant are accepting the blindness of what the Empire
Right.
is doing for their
Right.
To be successful for themselves or to be
Right.
safe for themselves. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. And that goes back to last week's podcast about the conflict minerals, because we all love electricity, but the batteries, like we need cobalt, so it's being built off of slavery. So it's like the slave. It's showing us a depiction of our lives right now.
Hmm. And that's what I think a lot of the. I mean, that's what we say that all the time, right? That science fiction is generally a reflection of our society. That's
Right.
you can replicate that in science fiction.
Yeah, totally. Like Elysium, right?
Mhm.
How they built the city in the sky, and then the people below were like poor and like slaves.
Mhm.
But that's literally going on in our world right now.
Right.
We just don't see it, but it's being
Mhm.
told to us through these movies or
Right.
these shows. Yeah. So who is the good guy in this? Like as an audience member, you're watching it and you're like, "Oh, I don't like the Republic," because we're being trained to not like the Republic. But as I'm watching, I'm like, we are the Republic." You know?
As a what? I didn't.
We are the Republic. Like as an audience member, we're watching it
Right. Right. Okay. Okay.
and we're trained to hate the Republic.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, they're so bad. But we, as a society, are the Republic. The fact that we live in the first world,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Like, and these people that are building the rebellion, they're in the other parts of the world, like who are not as great, as well off as us, trying to make it to the top as well.
Mhm.
You know. So who is the bad guy?
But that's each individual subjective, right?
Right? That's
It's
what I mean. It's like
subjective.
it's so gray, and that's why I like the show, because you're like, is it?
I mean, Andor was the one.
Yeah.
Andor was, I think, like he didn't care either side, right? Like he was the one in between.
Yeah, and I feel like those are the best ones because they could see both sides. Like, you know, you're both doing the same thing.
Yeah.
One day, like when the Jedi take over, isn't that what happened? Wait, what happened in the other movie? Star Wars Episode 7, after the Jedi won. People were still like,
Episode 7? Which one is that one?
the one after A New Hope. Oh, not A New Hope. The Force Awakens.
I don't remember what happens.
Yeah, but weren't the
As
Jedi
much as the
like,
other one.
good in that?
No, they were not there.
In the Force Awakens?
No, they were still. It was still the Empire, right? Ruling.
But at the last one, they defeated the Empire. Darth Vader died.
Darth Vader died.
Oh,
But
but Darth
the Em-
Sidious was still right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was more about. Oh yeah, it was more about Darth Sidious. No, spoiler alert, but it was his daughter, right?
I don't know. I gotta rewatch that one. I'm just trying to think. Like, did they depict it where?
Because it wasn't really back. I think there was just more of the Resistance. I'm
Or
not too
wasn't
sure.
it the show? What was it, the show, the Star Wars show, where the Jedi were in power, but it wasn't good still?
What?
When you had like Clone Wars, was it? Oh, I don't remember. Like where
Mm,
they showed, was it Clone Wars? Hmm,
but
it's
it's
hard to remember.
yeah, I don't remember. But it's more it's the Jedi themselves who became um like some of the people from the Jedi who became part of the Empire, right? Or the
The dark side.
yeah, the dark side. Yeah.
But I remember this thing about like the light and the dark. We all champion the light side, but the light side is
Mm-hmm.
um, just as like not corrupt, but like overreaching in their power as the dark side,
Right.
right? Like but that's what made Yoda so great
Mm-hmm.
because he was able to accept his dark side.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only one that like, if you watch the show, when he goes into like the spirit world and then he meets his dark side, and instead of killing the dark side, he absorbs the dark side. He's like, "Oh, you were a part of me," and that's
Right.
like what made Yoda the
So it must
best.
be in the Clone Wars show then.
It was in the Clone Wars show when
Okay.
Yoda
Okay.
did that thing,
I
but I
didn't watch that
remember,
show as much,
yeah, it was so long, yeah, and
but it's all
I was like
it's all
cartoon too, yeah,
cartoon
like
too.
how,
It was too long.
yeah, that's true. All right, it was back to Andor. So, what? Yeah, what else did you see from it? Like, what did you think? What'd you like?
I think I like that how they were at because we haven't seen Coruscant. I don't think I remember Coruscant like because I remember it from the episodes like 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
Seeing it again and seeing how politics works into all this and like
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
so like all of that kind of thing but so it was a very interesting way to put it. I feel like they had real elements of like real
Mhm.
political type elements in this thing involved in this whole creation of the Resistance.
And how they were moving the money around
Hmm.
within that political system was fascinating too. She created these like fake companies that she could pump money to, but it was actually linked to
Yeah,
resistance related
yeah, I
things.
forgot what they call. Yeah, yeah, like in like a front, right? But they were,
Yeah.
yeah, they were going towards the Resistance or for the Resistance. Yeah.
And everything was built around money because she needed like 400,000 credits or whatever to
Hmm.
like aid in the resistance. And it's like, yeah, we all think about, there's another one too that's really fascinating. You see war happen, but it's like who's funding the war?
Hmm.
Because you don't just get weapons out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, somebody's actually paying you
Hmm.
to do it. What I really liked was trying to figure out. There's moments where she was in Coruscant, the lady who,
Congresswoman or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and she was like supporting the resistance, and then she wasn't sure about this other person's political leanings.
Yeah.
That was fascinating to see how she pulled the
How do
information
you?
out.
Yeah. How do you get that?
Yeah, how do you make sure you're on the same side without giving
Telling.
away?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Which you're put. Yeah. That's the thing too. Like working. Um. Like it's about trust, right? How do
yeah,
I know this person is going to be on my side or not? How do you walk that line
yeah,
and
yeah,
find
yeah.
that information out, right? Because so that those things very interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so fascinating because it's like if you say the wrong thing and they're not actually politically leaning with you, you've just given away your whole position
Yeah.
and they could potentially kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting too to see the infighting within the Republic as well.
Hmm.
Like between the guy who wanted to pursue the deaths and they kept trying to push it, like sweep it under the rug. And it's like, oh, that's probably how government systems work too, you know? But this guy believed that it was tied to something bigger, which it was,
Right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
It's like some. It's more like yeah. It's the he's the new comer kind of thing
Yeah.
um into the job, right? So he wants to do a good job by actually
Mhm.
doing his duties in the right way, and then the old guy is like, I don't want to like this is too much paperwork to deal with. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. It really it really like depicted our lives.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like how different aspects of society work.
Hmm.
Oh no, you know what's fascinating too? This show was freaking brilliant because it really did show. It was like the succession of Star Wars,
Hmm.
you know. But so the thing I was gonna say was how the the guy who was in the like illegal side of things, like moving money around, and then the congresswoman needed money.
Hmm.
So then she was like, "How much is it going to cost you?" And he's like, "Oh, it won't cost you anything." And then she's like, "Well, everything costs something, right?" And he's like, "I just want an introduction with my son to your daughter."
Right.
And it's like,
Uh,
oh, that does happen in society too. Like intermarrying strategically to like level yourself up,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
They did that during like the kings and queen time,
Hmm.
like during the castle period or
Right.
like we forget that marrying is a strategic move as well,
Hmm.
you know? But they seem so archaic now, but it's like these are practices that I'm sure still happen.
I think they do. May not be necessarily like upfront, but it's kind of like subtle.
But just like this one, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
subtle. It's like she didn't
Yeah.
tell her daughter like you're gonna marry them.
No, no, no. Yeah. It's just like let them meet. Let's just because
Yeah,
generally
right.
that's.
Yeah, and then that allows him to create legal money.
Hmm.
It's so funny though, because you see this whole. So we know the end goal, right? We
Yeah.
know what Star Wars is gonna end up looking like in the end, right? We
Hmm.
know how big the Republic's gonna get. How like we see in episode 4, 5, 6. But seeing these prequels is fascinating because it makes you realize that in life there are so many small steps that lead up to like the grand moment
Hmm.
that we don't see, and like you could take it how we have our world right now. We see these big cities outside our window, but it's like, how did it get there? Small
Hmm.
deals, over time, strategic
Yeah.
partnerships. Yeah, like that.
I think
That
I think I
narrative,
think that's why like some of these like Andor or even Obi-Wan, like you can't tell all of that in a movie.
and
I,
that's what makes
that's what
series
yeah, yeah.
better.
You
Yeah,
can expand on the universe more, explain it a bit more, right? Better.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go into the finer details of how things work. So like those things are not you're not able to do that in the movie.
Yeah, facts, facts. So actually, that's the side. This is a side question, but do you think like how will it work going forward then with series and movies? You know what I mean? Like, will movies die out in place of series?
No, I think both will exist. I think it'll both will
It's like if you
exist.
want to tell a short story, you want to tell a long story. Okay, yeah, true. Because Babylon wouldn't have been.
I think that's what Disney wants to do, where they have a series, so they still have you hooked in, and then whenever movies comes out, because
Oh,
you're
like
hooked
Star
into
Wars.
the yeah
Yeah, yeah. Or like the Marvel universe that they're doing as well.
yeah
Well, that's Disney, so
yeah they have that. They have two big
yeah.
three things actually. Disney itself, his own thing, and then yeah, Marvel and Star Wars.
Do you think? Or so getting back to Andor, do you think Andor died at the end
No,
of it?
no, it didn't seem
No,
like
right?
that at all. No,
So then what? Why? Because in the chat we have going on, Bob's like, "Oh, I know how this ends. Like he's dead. He's
I
dead."
think he's talking about like Rogue One.
Does he die in Rogue One? I'm
I don't
so confused.
remember.
Right? Yeah, yeah. I don't remember this actor. Was he the same actor from Rogue
I
One?
yeah, he's in yeah.
He's in
It
Rogue One,
he's in Rogue One. Also, Cassian Andor. His name is Cassian. Like he's in Rogue One.
like the actual actor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, I don't remember this guy
Yeah,
at
that's what I'm
all.
saying. Yeah, I don't remember. That's why I was like, I had to look it up after this show ended. I was like, oh, this is the lead up to Rogue One.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So knowing
Yeah,
that, I know who's going to live and die, kind of thing, right?
right, right, right. Okay, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because I was so confused. I was like,
I
like
think
when
I don't
he.
know if you saw like clip at the end of
Wait, what?
the last episode. They're just
No,
showing they were showing the Death Star or whatever, just building that, or like
wait. Was that like a wait till the credits are over
after
kind
the
of thing?
credits. Yeah,
Oh no, I don't. I
just on
didn't
the
wait
last
till after the
episode. Yeah.
credits. Oh, okay, cool. Now I kind of want to watch Rogue One just to
So
see.
yeah, well, this season isn't. I don't know. There'll probably be another season, but like it has to lead up to Rogue One, right?
Oh, true. Wow, man, the writers for this thing are so good that you're able to tie everything in together.
I think it's
You
yeah,
didn't need to work backwards.
yeah. You're working backwards, right? You already know the ending. How do you get to that point? So you have to
Yeah, yeah.
build that story. It's the same
But
thing. But the same thing with Obi-Wan too, right? Because we know where that goes.
but no, but for sure, for sure. But the thing is, it doesn't feel forced. That's why I'm like, these writers are amazing
Yeah, yeah,
because it's not like, oh, you just add that filler.
yeah. Hmm.
You know, it was
No, no.
it's like
Everything seems to be
strategic.
placed correctly. Like nothing
Yeah,
was put in just for the sake of pushing the story a certain way.
yeah, yeah. And and that's like all credit to the writers. Like, wow, how did you come up with that?
Hmm.
You know? Yeah. So, what didn't you like about uh, Andor? Is there anything at all, or
Mm, I think it's hard to say what I didn't like. Just no, I don't. I can't say that anything.
no?
Per se.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, well, all right, what's a down aspect of this? I'm like, I really can't think of one. Even the graphics were good. Like
Hmm.
they weren't off-putting at all, you
Yeah.
know. And the fighter scenes. Remember when he was being pulled by that tractor beam, and then the ships went out,
Hmm.
and they had like a starship battle kind of thing.
Right.
I thought that was gonna be crappy because I was like, how are you gonna pull this off? But it was so like you're like you felt the tension and like
Hmm.
it's funny because you take the original Star Wars and you have to make it look like that thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because remember what was the I forgot was it Rogue One where at the end of it they showed the Death Star and how it looked like it went back to like 1960s style,
Hmm.
but like you're able to reinvent that look in a new way. Like you take the same aesthetic, but you make it modernized,
Right.
which is what they did, right? Because you remember, do you remember the Star Wars episode 4, the New Hope one, where they were like chasing down the
Yeah.
cavern?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was so crappy. You're like, oh, this is such an ugly like chase scene.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought it was gonna be like that, you know? It's like you show the cockpit and like you don't really see the actual things like flying around, but in this one's like you see them like attack
Hmm.
maneuvers and
Hmm.
stuff. So that's what I mean. It's like you took the aesthetic and you modernized the
Right.
approach to
Yeah. Yeah.
her.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think like Mandalorian had a lot of good action scenes like
But
that.
see, I didn't like Mandalorian
Hmm.
or Django Fett. Django? Boba.
Boba Fett. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
didn't like those. They were so like slow paced, kind of boring. It
Yeah.
was very robotic still. But this didn't feel robotic. This felt like fluid and human. Like, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like their demeanor wasn't like Mando felt really costumey to me and like very like hard, like very robotic. The way they were talking, the way they were like
Yeah.
acting.
That was their culture, right? Or their um.
But like even the other actors in it, like was very like this feels weird. This one felt like
I think I liked the Mandalorian because they got into their universe, like who they are
yeah, fair.
as a people, and their
Like what
culture and their traditions. Yeah.
but I don't know, it's like the pacing was off for Mando.
I think it was just like the beginning was more like just the lead up, right?
Yes.
Until the Baby Yoda. That was the big thing from that
Yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah.
And then at the end of was it season 2? Yeah, with Luke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But still, it's like I don't know. This one felt like
But these are all like they learn from each other, right? So like Mando's where it started it with that new
yeah, facts.
technology.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. That's what it is. It's like Mando and Boba were like earlier iterations. But when you see like um Obi-Wan,
Hmm.
you're like, "Oh, this is getting pretty good now."
Yeah.
Like you're actually it's smoother, feels more realistic. It doesn't feel like cartoony.
Hmm.
And then with Andor, you're just like, oh, this is like an actual like movie, like
Right.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, the one thing I wrote down that I want to bring up was the jail workstation scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How it's like they made a game out of creating the parts,
Right.
and it's like, oh, you would do that if you were kind of stuck,
Mm-hmm.
like just a way to like ease the mind's tension of your
Mm,
surroundings, you
right.
know.
Yeah, 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 of course.
It reminded me of like Formula One when right when I thought of you when I was watching. I was like, oh yeah, this is like the when
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
changing
yeah, yeah.
tires,
Yeah,
you know?
in the pit stops. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. And, like speed and like
yeah. Mm-hmm.
this table's better than yours. Like, yeah, that was kind of cool.
But it's very
Uh,
interesting because like the jail scene itself is also showing you like, um, I forgot like the worker thing, right? Like you're in jail, but you're paying you very well. They're not paying you anything in this one, but like you're just wasting your. You have to get rid of your days in jail, right? So
yeah,
they're
yeah,
putting you
yeah,
for free labor, right, to build all
yeah.
these things for the empire.
And when they said like, um, you're cheaper than robots,
Hmm.
it was like, yeah, that's true. But they do. That's a real thing, you know. In jails, they actually make you work. Like you
Hmm.
actually do things um to help advance society. Like it is free labor, not
Hmm.
free because they pay you like I don't know, like $1 a day or
Yeah,
something
but
like
it's
that.
relative. Yeah, yeah. You can't
You
do
know,
zero.
like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like that's another parallel. And you watch that and you're like, oh, that wouldn't happen. And
Hmm.
then you read into that's the crazy part, you know? If you actually read into how society works, you sound like you're crazy when you think that these things are real. You're like as like a superficial person, they're watching Andor and they're like, oh yeah, that's a weird world.
Hmm.
And then you're like, no, that's actually our world, just mirrored
Yeah,
as a
exactly. Yeah.
science fiction world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, where else do we get these ideas? They come from real
Right.
worlds.
Yeah. And you're like, no, that would never happen. It's like just read into like economics or
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
history. Like this literally happens.
Hmm.
Yeah, fascinating. It's a really good show. Any other I think that's all the points. Oh no, last point I have is the tribes.
Hmm.
For Andor when he lived on that place. It reminded me of uh like Peter Pan almost.
Right. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the Lost Boys, like the tribe that was uh, living there. But what was funny is I thought the language was real. I thought they were speaking like Spanish or something. So I hit the subtitles and there was none. I was like, oh, there's a fake language. But that's so cool that they made it sound so real
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
I thought like my subtitles were off. Right.
Yeah, we're not supposed to know, but there's
Yeah. What was that other like Game of Thrones did that too, where you can actually learn the
Dothraki.
Dothraki
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
language?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
These
actual like
creators,
language experts or language creator
yeah,
experts.
that's what I was gonna say. It's like these creators are like they go deep
Hmm.
with it. I
But they
bet you if you
but
yeah,
they take from real world in a way.
that's why I thought it was a real language. I thought
Yeah,
my
yeah.
subtitles were off because I was like looking for it. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, anything else about
No, it was a very good show. Very good. I think like especially for if you're into the spy stuff, I think this is really good at it.
yeah, easily the best Star Wars I've seen in a long time
Mhm.
or ever. I'll place it as number one, and number two will be Kenobi. What about you?
Yeah, I think I say the same. Yeah, I mean Mandalorian's up there. I don't know why I like it's the universe. I think they've got you
Yeah.
now hooked into that Star Wars world. I think
Oh,
Ahsoka is the next thing.
yeah, true. But what's cool about this too, like you said, the world, it's like they kind of did it with Marvel as well. It's like, what do you like? Go there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, you like the serious stuff? Watch Andor.
Yeah.
Oh, you want like more fantasy? Watch like Mando, I guess. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of cool. That you have like, it's like Baskin Robbins. You know, it's like all ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like you pick the flavors you like.
Right. Right.
Marvel's doing that too, right? Like if you like Asian stuff, watch Shang-Chi. You know,
yeah,
but you know what I'm trying to say, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's all like under the
Yeah,
same umbrella.
yeah, they just want to have a wider. If you just all make it one thing, you're limiting your
Yeah,
fan
yeah.
base, right? So like if you've got people liking the Andor, the mature spy stuff, and like, or the little bit of the kiddish stuff from Mando, but I think Boba Fett's a bit more serious, a little bit more serious. So it's like
Yeah, I
you have
almost
different
finished.
levels. Yeah, you have different
Yeah.
levels of it. So where it's like when their movie comes out, everyone's going.
Facts, that's true. Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that. That's true. You can hit multiple different tiers with a series,
Hmm.
or like you can. Let's think of it like economics wise. You can diversify your portfolio by having multiple assets in play, like different series that like can generate money for you. But we know that with movies, it's going to be a hit or miss because you only have one shot at this one thing,
Yeah.
and like you can't like offset your loss because that one movie was so big and it's in all theaters.
Hmm.
If people don't like it has to be like series can be not widely appealing,
Hmm.
but movies have to be widely appealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
True.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else about Andor?
No, I think yeah.
All right. Did CES happen yet or no? Not yet, right?
CES has happened, and I think still happening. Maybe like this weekend.
Okay, we'll cover it then next week when you've like checked out all the stuff. I can't wait to hear about some new stuff. Just send me some cool stuff you're checking out.
I can tell you just
But
one thing.
okay,
Do you
cool.
remember the BMW, the black and white color change last year?
Yeah, it shifts its color.
So they have one now with color.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's really
that's
cool.
one thing I saw.
Okay, so how does that work? It's like multiple panels on the outside of the car, like multiple
It's I
micro
don't know.
panels.
I don't know the science or the technology behind it, but the panel itself, whatever they have on the car, can change colors.
But how strong is the paneling? Is it like
I don't know.
comparable to
Probably very expensive if you ever get into an accident with that. But these are all just concepts, so
yeah, true.
it's not ready
Oh
for.
yeah, true. It's like mass market yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's funny we think about um like the hardest material you would think is some sort of like titanium or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's sapphire. It's one of the hardest. It's like
Yeah.
next to diamond's the hardest,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But that's not a metal alloy. That's
It's
kind of
not
like
easy to be malleable or
yeah,
to
yeah.
form into shape.
But it's like translucent too, right? Like
Right.
glass is translucent,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see right through it. So it makes sense that the outer shell, if it's made out of sapphire and you have like technology underneath to change the color, like yeah, okay, I could see it working in a car, you know, because I would imagine like using glass on the outside of the car, your initial impression is like that's not gonna hold up. But when you think about it, it's like sapphire is way stronger than like aluminum or whatever is
Mm-hmm.
used right now. Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool to see. So it can change any color now.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That's cool. So at the whim, you're just like, I want to just change it to this.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what the next iteration for that'll be? When you run ads on the sides of cars,
yeah. Probably. Why not?
right? Like taxis will have like in the future, like let's say you can change colors, you'll have taxis that are running ads on the side of your car
Mm-hmm.
as you're driving past them.
I mean, these are all just concepts. I don't know if they will ever come out, or maybe portions of it may work. Like, or like, there's
Yeah,
some
true.
ideas that come out of it that not necessarily used for the original purpose of it.
Right. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Um, okay, so we haven't played Call of Duty yet, but we did get it. But one thing I was thinking about that I wanted to bring up was how crazy the pricing is now for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Or how long have they been $90? I was like, what the
They've
hell?
been $90 for
For
a
a while. So
while,
I just haven't bought
for
a
some
game
time.
full price for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so insane. Like yeah. Like I remember when they were like not that bad, like $60, and just now it's just so expensive. Like who's
Yeah.
buying these games? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like think about the investment for people who play online or like play multiple games.
I mean, it hurts both ways, right? If people, it's too expensive to buy a game, then people are buying fewer games.
Exactly, that's what I mean, right? It's like hurting the industry. Is there a
Yeah.
way to make this cheaper somehow? Like,
So I don't. It
because the
depends.
labor costs are a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it all depends on, instead of making 40-hour games like the open world stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
specifically that, you'd have to cut it. Maybe
Multiple versions, like part one, part two of the game.
yeah, it's like you're doing something like that where it's more. Then it's more of a cheaper price, but then you're buying smaller portions instead of buying the whole portion, right? So it's like,
Yeah, that's true. Final Fantasy did that. They created like version, like part one of the game.
mm-hmm.
The new version, like the revamped version, Final Fantasy 7.
Okay.
They did part one, and then part two is supposed to come out for PS5, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe we could see that happening. But I think it was like I was reading about the economics of video games before, and it's like the console doesn't make the money, it's the games that make the money.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like you can't, like, how do you make it cheaper? It's like you can't make it cheaper. You can only make the console cheaper. You'll eat the cost now, but then later on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you make it
A
back.
lot of them do that. In that kind of, generally the console is cheaper. Um, all the peripherals slash and the games are where you make the money.
Yeah. You never think about that. I think it's like movie theaters too. I heard that most of their money is from like concession stand
Yeah.
stuff. They don't actually make that much money on the ticket sales
No.
itself.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
hmm
Like, yeah.
I mean, sometimes the concession stuff is more expensive than the movie ticket,
Oh, it's
right? So it's like
way more expensive.
yeah. So
Dude, like popcorn and pop is like $20. So you're like, dude, the ticket was $13.
yeah,
Why is it so
exactly,
much money?
exactly.
I do like how if you go to the mall though, you can bring in mall food into the movie theater. They'll allow you to do that. So
I,
sometimes like
okay.
we'll just buy like takeout and then just bring it to the movie theater and just eat it there.
Some areas don't allow that, right? Though,
And
right?
some areas don't. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. When you understand like the economics of things, you could figure out where things are headed.
hmm And
You're
also,
like,
it's
oh, this
like
is not gonna make money.
also it's like in the movie theater, like if there's no mall, you have no other food to pick from.
Yeah, you're forced. Yeah.
So you're
Unless you
forced,
bring in your own food. Yeah.
right? And then you're forced to buy, and they can put whatever price they need to put it at.
Yeah, yeah, facts. Do you remember when we were kids and then like it would be like, why why would you bring in your own food to the movie theater? Like, because we weren't paying for anything, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you're like, oh, why would you bring your own food? Like, why not just buy food there?
hmm
But now that you get older, you're like, oh, I'd rather bring in my own food than buy it there.
right.
You know, like a little hack is Empress Walk right across the street. And there's like the movie theater, right? But if you just go to Loblaws, which is at the very base, you can buy like the same pack of M&Ms, but for way cheaper. Or the dollar store. You know, you just go there, put in your like hoodie, and you're good.
right, right, right.
It's the exact same product.
True.
The only thing is like I guess the popcorn, but like all the other candies and stuff,
If you could buy the
yeah,
popcorn bag and bring it in from Loblaws, that'd be
that would be cool. Yeah. That yeah. I'm surprised that like but yeah, you're right. There are movie theaters that don't allow you to do that, like the standalone ones that are
hmm
not embedded in like a mall.
yeah.
Like the Silver City and you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the Silver City if you just head
In the
north
Richmond
from
Hill one.
downtown.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's Mill one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the standalone ones or the
Yeah, yeah.
Morningside or like yeah,
hmm
you can't bring in food. Anyways, what time are we at? Just so I know of.
An hour and 3 minutes.
Okay, cool. So just a couple other things I just want to highlight. The food scan in China. Did you see that video?
No.
So instead of scanning the barcode, you just put your food and it sees the food that you have and it charges you for it.
Mm.
Okay. I feel like with that, with Amazon store, right, where you just walk in, walk out,
Yeah.
it's like, why would anybody waste time with payments in the future? Like, I'm seeing the direction of this and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
It's gonna go in that direction. Like we already see it, right? Like you had before, you had a lot of checkout lines. Now you have self checkout, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. And then
So
so if you don't know what the Amazon one is, I don't know how it works, but you walk in and then as you walk out, it'll charge your credit card because it knows what you're walking out with.
I think
I guess
that
there's like multiple scanners connected to your phone. Trying to figure out the tech behind it, but like,
yeah, I don't know how, if they're are they just walking out with it, or are they having to put it on somewhere to scan it?
Oh, you showed me this video like 2 years ago. It was in I think it's in play in Oregon or something like that.
No, that's for Amazon, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you're talking about the China
the China one, yeah.
Okay, so if you watch the video, it's like you walk up to the scanner, you put your plate of food down, and then it scans all the plate of food, and then it just bills you.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's more like programmed into the cameras what to look for, right?
Right. So it made sense with the tech. When I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is just like basic like scanning tech that we have now. Like if you input a check into the bank machine, it reads the number.
Right.
I don't have to type in how much was on the check. I don't know if you've done this recently or before.
No,
have you ever had to deposit a check?
Now I just deposit on the phone, but no.
Oh yeah, okay. Phone is the exact same way, but
yeah, okay.
Or it's not the exact same way. It's like it's a similar concept where it reads the numbers that you've written out, right? So that's just basic, like AI reading.
Yeah.
So it is able to read what's on your
right. No, I think in Amazon store they have multiple cameras, so they're.
Oh, that's how it is. I thought it was like tagged or something. Okay,
no, it's tagged to with your account, right? When you're going in with your Amazon account.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
So whatever you're picking up,
you put that in the cart.
Yeah. Like the Uniqlo's one is pretty interesting too, where you're just placing the food, the clothes. Yeah. So the scan.
I was so confused at first.
So there's a scanner like reader. Like I think I asked them how it worked, and
same because I was like, they're just like put it in. I was like, put it in. What do you mean? All right.
So it just like, automatically reads the scanner as soon as you put it in. So it's very cool.
So unique. But you know what's funny? It's like they get like we think of Western society as the pinnacle of the world, right? But all these tech things are first implemented in Asian countries and then later they're brought over if they're successful or easily implemented in Western countries. You know? Like, for example, the TTC, you know, like line 1, I think it is.
Yeah.
How it's just one long tube.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That was in friggin' Hong Kong forever. It's only until we brought it over, like more recently. And it seemed like a crazy novel innovation to us, but like Asia's been on it for like a while.
Right. I feel like that was, it's more like, I mean, we've been doing subways for a while, right? I guess. So it's more like when the old system or the old tracks things or whatever, like when you upgrade to the next thing, like just
like how implementation, how long it takes and stuff.
Yeah. Because you're gonna use it for like, I don't know, 10 years or whatever, and like how often do you change? No, how often you change them? You can't just change them out every year, right? Just too costly.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So it just wasn't effective cost wise.
It's like exactly. It's like, oh, this is coming to its life now. It's time to.
Right, but that's the thing. That's why I was like, if you just understand how economics works, you could figure out how the future is going to move or why things happen the way they are. Because it's like, you go to a different country, you're like, why wouldn't they implement this here? It's so genius. It's like, well, the cost of implementing it is too high. You're like, what? It comes down to cost. It always comes down to cost. That's the crazy part. It's
of course,
always about money.
So I think why I liked like talking about the scanning thing. I don't like the self checkout. Because you're making me do the work of a cashier.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, bro,
but then if I just have to pick it up, put it in a cart, and walk out,
Totally.
Now you've made it much more easier to
For
accept.
sure, for sure. But so that reminds me of like that brings to light what happened last night, which is when it's not efficient, you just get annoyed. So we were
Yeah.
trying to watch um so Tara's a big fan of The Bachelor, and she's explaining to me that it's like this game. So I'm like, all right, let's watch one episode or like one season of The Bachelor. So turns out you can only buy the season of The Bachelor. So I'm like, all right, let's buy it. So I went to go buy it, but there's
Okay.
a whole on the Google TV, like Google
Oh,
Chrome.
okay, okay.
That's how we were gonna buy it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's such a process to buying this. Like it's like, all right, purchase, and then it gives you a link. And then it's like I have to open my laptop and then like type in the
Oh my
URL
god.
code. You already heard it and you're like, dude, this is
Well,
too cumbersome.
that's why I like Apple that much.
I know. And you just like
It's
hit it. You're like,
it's so
yeah,
convenient. Apple has done
yeah,
it. Apple has like made me realize the convenience that I can't do what other companies. I can't do it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't do
for sure.
it.
I can't. And let's not forget, this is all run by Cobalt. Waves are, So it's like there's always yin and yang, man. We love it, but it's like, yeah, slave labor is building this, but
Hmm.
it's so sick though. It's like, anyways. So when you see how things are improperly run, like the Google Chrome thing, I was like, this is so inefficient. And it opened the thing, and then it's like, all right, input your credit card. I'm like, why isn't this thing linked to my credit card
I don't
already?
understand. Yeah,
Oh,
why? But you're doing it. You're getting it through Google Chrome.
yeah. So it's linked to my Google email, my Gmail
So you couldn't buy it from
app. No,
The Chrome itself. No, where were you getting it from?
no,
On the phone
from the
or on
Chrome itself, bro.
from the Chrome
From the
itself? They
Chrome.
couldn't do it.
I know. That's why I was like, this is so crazy. Like, that's why it made me think of the China scanner thing and like the Amazon. Like, this should be more efficient. It's
Right, right,
2022, 2023.
right.
Even with like
Like the Apple thing is so good. I like
that's what I mean. Yeah.
it's like even like I watch it on the PS5, right? I can log into the
Yeah.
Apple TV app now, right? So
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
my purchases that I've done are in the library right away. I can
Yeah.
just watch it, like stream it. Like
What like
it's
why is
so
that
easy
more
to
efficient?
access.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We're looking for like it's like we expect such a high level of convenience that when we don't get it, it's such a chore
Hmm.
to us.
But like
Like
there,
I was
some
like,
people are
yeah,
willing to risk it though. Like what I like if I'm let's say uh some apps, like if you're buying like a book or something from Amazon or Kindle,
okay.
you can't
Yeah.
buy it through the app on the Apple the iPhone's app store or
Oh, really? Okay.
Amazon,
That's
just
interesting.
because they don't want to give Apple, because any purchases you make through the Apple store
Uh-huh.
or through the app, 30% goes to
Oh,
Apple.
right, right,
So
right,
they're
right,
willing
right.
to risk. So like a lot of those things that happened, I was like, I'm not gonna buy it because they don't have it through. I can't buy it through my
Right.
like Apple Pay or something. I have to go to the actual Amazon.com and then buy
Yeah,
the
yeah,
book,
yeah.
and then I can download it onto my
So
Kindle.
irritating.
It's like, yeah, that's just too much work. I'm not.
Yeah. Wh-
But
Do
they're
they get 30% if you use any Apple Pay?
so no. So they get
Apple.
not Apple Pay. Like if you're purchasing anything from within the, like, I don't know if you can buy Netflix through the App Store. If you can't buy Netflix through the App
Oh,
Store, that's
okay.
because you have to go to the Netflix.com and do it. That
Yeah,
means
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're doing it through the App Store to get Netflix, that means 30% goes to Apple.
Interesting. Economics, man. Yeah, yeah, okay.
It's
That
like a
makes sense
lot
as to
of.
why.
That's why I like, but that's why I like the like all in the Apple Store. The way that it works is so good, where I can see all my subscriptions and cancel at any time.
Same. I love that's so convenient.
It's so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
convenient, but
Yeah,
that's the 30% cut they have to pay Apple for us to have
right.
that.
But they don't want that. They
If they're
want to have
not,
to eat into their margins.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if that's like Amazon's a bigger company, so they're willing to do that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
That makes sense.
Where there's like Crave or like um I don't know, like other ones that I've, or like F1 or something. Like I'll just do
Yeah.
it through the app, and they're willing to give the 30% to Apple in that scenario.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm surprised that like other things are not more connected through like Apple Pay on my phone, like Cineplex.
Hmm.
I'm like, why can't you just connect through Apple Pay? You know?
Hmm.
it's like, do you want us to memorize your card? Like, I feel like, okay, this is just a tech issue, I guess, or rant, but I feel like anything that's connected as an app on my phone should have the option of, do you want to pay with Apple Pay on your phone?
Right.
Because it's already on my phone. Why
Mm-hmm.
do I have to pull out my credit card, retype the numbers in
Mm-hmm.
just to buy this thing?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
shouldn't you read it off my phone? But I guess like we were saying, it's like they take a cut, so that's why they don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. It'll be cool in the future to see like how they solve this
Like there, like
efficiency
a
issue.
big thing happened with that too. Like Fortnite. Fortnite, like
Uh,
it was huge on the Apple Store,
okay.
and they did something that you're not supposed to do under Apple guideline, and um they
Knock it
blocked
down?
it. Yeah, they
Ooh, rough.
until
Okay.
they resolved their. That was a whole big thing. Apple's taking too much money, and from
Oh,
Fortnite was saying,
interesting.
yeah.
But it's like you gotta pay to play the game, man. Like the convenience is there. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to take advantage of this, you gotta pay.
Right.
As a company, I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
Fortnite. Yeah. I feel like imagine if they solved the checkout issue, if you just walk in, walk out, you would save so much time because the lines are so annoying. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
go like holiday shopping, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you could just walk in, like pick it up, leave, and then it automatically charges your credit card,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to waiting in line and then like you're like, oh, I gotta
Right.
go like scan, you know, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
and then it backs up because then somebody's not as efficient as other people, and then you're like, oh man,
I think like it's just too expensive to implement, and I don't
yeah,
think it's like 100% foolproof. Yeah.
true, because they might like be like, oh, you're stealing products, like how does it know it'll scan every single product you
But
put
yeah,
in your
no, I
cart?
mean it's happened in the Amazon thing too, right? Where
Oh,
I've read
really? Yeah.
articles where they've walked out and they didn't get charged for that item, or like
Oh, okay, okay. So
out of
there's no
them.
bugs.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Also, checkout lines are how they make extra money. That's why you have like magazines there, like gum,
Mm,
candy. Because while you're waiting in the
right.
line, they want you to like browse and like put it in your cart. So you'd be losing a stream of income if you introduced this walk in, walk out. See, again, it always comes down to money. It's like, how can we maximize our profits by like forcing you to spend more time in the store and then want to buy
Mm-hmm.
things
Right.
at the detriment of our convenience? Because we're like, why am I waiting in this line to pay? It's so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, what time we at now?
Hour 16.
Okay. Well, all right. One last thing then. Um, because I want to talk about, since we're talking about Amazon. Okay. So I went to, okay, prices are definitely getting higher. And it's almost like, why would you not shop on Amazon? Or like, let me explain. So I was looking for a power outlet. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
just needed a regular power outlet, just needed 4 plugs. Okay. I go to the source. It's $34. And they don't have the color black. They have the color white. And I
Right.
want black because we're trying to make the apartment look nice. And I'm like, okay, let me see. Like before I buy this, let me see what's on Amazon. A $50 plug is now on sale for the same price as that white plug. It's in black. There's 3, 6, 9, 12 outlets, 6 USB outlets. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
12, it's like a
Yeah,
square.
yeah, yeah.
So there's like 12 outlets, and there's also on the sides 6 USB outlets. So I'm getting so many more plugs for the same price. Why would I not buy it
Mm-hmm.
on Amazon?
Yeah.
And you're just like, how is any store going to compete with Amazon? Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is pretty expensive. Am I sure I want to buy this? So I
Mm-hmm.
look on Amazon for an alternative, found a way better alternative for an equal price.
Right.
What's going to happen in stores in the future? For tech, like I get clothing, but like, it's like, why would you not buy tech
I
online?
don't know how the source is still here, in my opinion.
Facts. Yeah, it's true. Like, what do you even sell? You're selling like, I can go to Best Buy, I can go to like
Like,
Home
was it
Depot.
were they Radio Shack or the source was different?
It might have been, I think they're different, but
Like Radio Shack
it,
is gone, right?
yeah, you can still find some, but yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, like how does one compete? It makes no sense. It's like
Hmm.
you're gonna end up buying all your tech online. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I've ever bought anything from the source unless there was an actual like price decrease on like a game or something.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
only thing I can remember that I
Yeah.
ever bought from, if I ever bought for anything from the source.
And all right, you know what it's come down to? It's come down to how fast do you want this product?
Hmm.
That's what the price difference really is.
Hmm.
Okay. So when I was also going to the source, I was like, okay, I could wait for this thing, right? But another thing that I found on Amazon was I went to this like anime style store in Pickering
Hmm.
because I knew that they sold these butterfly knives,
Hmm.
these like trainers, and I was looking for a black one, but they only had silver. So I was like, okay, it was $30. Okay. So I was like, how much do like, what is the price difference if I wait on Amazon?
Right.
So I checked on Amazon. So I got two, black and silver, for $12. They were charging $30 for the exact same product. And I was like, oh, it's come down to how fast do I want this? Am
Hmm.
I willing to wait 2 days to get the product?
Right.
Because if I can wait, I'll save like over 50% on this
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Like, how does a store compete? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think they can compete. I think you gotta be. The stores have to end up becoming more like specialized in specific
I think
things. I
so.
feel
I
like
think
that.
so.
Like even I had to get something for like changing the faucet or something,
Okay, yeah.
and they didn't have the exact size that I needed from Home Depot,
Okay.
and like it's and they had multiple sizes for very close to the same price on Amazon. So I just bought it.
Why
It's
wouldn't I
like,
buy it as that? Right? It's crazy now. I feel like these stores can't compete. Like they're definitely
yeah,
dinosaurs.
I feel like they would have to end up becoming more specialized in specific things, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It all depends on that, and some
The,
stores won't survive.
yeah, no, I don't think so. I think the only ones that will really survive are the things that you really need to see in person. So
Hmm.
like IKEA, it's not going anywhere because you need to see that. You need to see it, measure it. Like
Yeah,
y- you know what I mean? There's like a tactile component, like your chair. You know, where'd you buy your chair?
Canada
Your new chair?
computers.
But you sat in it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I said it.
That's what I mean. Like you need there's certain things that like you need to still feel.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think clothing stores will go anywhere. But like goodbye to tech stores. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like Best Buy, like all right, so the Best Buy will survive because they don't actually just sell tech. They sell appliances
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So I was like, "Oh, you sell like fridges?" I didn't even know about
yeah.
this.
I
I
didn't
didn't
know
even
that. I didn't know
realize.
about that either. So it was like very interesting. I
Yeah.
think that they're going in that direction. I don't think they
Yeah.
were in that direction before. So it's
They were
like,
not.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird because I was like looking for mini fridges, and then I saw online like best because I Googled like where to buy mini fridge, and then I saw Best Buy. I was like, "What Best Buy has
Yeah.
appliances?" So I walked in and I was like, "Oh, there's a whole appliance section on this
Yeah, I
side."
know.
But we always run to like the phones or like the laptops.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's probably what it has to be. Like you have to become like a superstore to survive. You can like the source. You only sell technology products.
Hmm.
So how are you gonna survive? I don't know.
I think but they're not even that good. They also
No, they're not
are
good.
an affiliate with Bell, I think, or at least
Uh,
because they
the
were trying
source,
to, yeah, because they were trying to sell me
uh,
on like because I was
phones.
just looking for like internet prices, right? Or even phones
Okay, yeah,
too, yeah. So, but they weren't even that cheaper.
yeah.
Getting
So
directly from the Bell store was much more cheaper.
yeah, and you guys actually know what's going on. Like
Yeah,
you work at Bell. Like
yeah.
you're able to look at the like plans and stuff.
Hmm.
Like the people at Source can't sell me a very intricate plan. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be fascinating going forward. Yeah, right. Um, anything else? Any last things?
No.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Uh, tech is getting crazy. Watch Andor.
Yeah,
That's
watch Andor, watch Obi-Wan Kenobi.
and yeah, and Babylon. If you're a movie lover. Oh, this
Mm.
is okay. Wait, this is the last thing I wanted to say about Babylon, and we'll end it here. the thing that I thought was so fascinating, so he was getting bad reviews from like when he got to like talkies, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then he was asking the critic, they were friends. He's asking the critic, like, why'd you write a bad review about me? And she's like, you don't realize that there will always be another one of you. Your time has just come to an end, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is, when somebody discovers your movie, like you will die, but when somebody discovers your movie in the future and puts it on, they'll feel like they know you. They'll feel like you're a friend. You'll live again.
Right.
So you'll live forever.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's so fascinating. Like that is why movies are so, or shows are so like amazing, because you can rediscover like Friends, it's coming back,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, little like
Or I think the recent thing with the memes was was it Zoolander?
Zoolander.
Yeah,
Oh, it's coming back.
yeah,
Oh, okay. So there you go. So it's like boom,
yeah. It's like
live
Ben
forever.
Stiller said, like, oh, his daughter told him. It's
Oh,
all across the
really?
internet now.
Oh, that's so funny. That was a good movie, though. That was a good movie.
But it's interesting, like when it's the younger generation who brought it back as a
Yeah.
meme. But then it's, what is this movie? You're like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, you discover more. Like,
yeah,
I feel like the 90s, early 90s, oh, sorry, not early 90s, 90s to the early 2000s, that was like the golden age of comedy. I thought it was like really funny.
hmm,
Yeah. Like, that's when we watched a lot of these Rat Pack, like wedding, was it? Wedding Crashers, stuff like that.
hmm, right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, spoiler alert, at the end of Babylon, they show a whole montage of like black and white films up until today, and they end off with like Avatar. So it was
Oh,
really
really?
like a movie. Yeah, it was like a really movie lovers movie. Like that's why I want us to see it, because it's
Hmm.
like it encapsulates all the things we love about movies, and
Right.
it's like a love letter to movies.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Till next time.
Cool.
Jesus.
Peace.
Bye. All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.